To be honest, I'd normally scrap this idea this late after the fact, but 2021 is a year I want to highlight for a couple of reasons. It was a hugely underrated year for games, and it was yet another year that was carried by Japanese developers. Even with expanding this list out to the top 21, I still had trouble whittling it down, and what better evidence is there of that than the fact I'm going to start this video with 3 honourable mentions. Firstly, I have to mention the Yuffie DLC for Final Fantasy VII Remake. I hate Final Fantasy VII Remake more than anybody, but the Yuffie DLC proves that there was indeed new, valuable content that could have been added to Midgar all along instead of padding it to hell and back. It's just a shame this Yuffie content wasn't integrated from the beginning. Second is Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. The only reason it didn't make the top 21 is because I personally hate Gen 4. I actually really like this remade chibi art style and its stricter, more faithful approach to the remake. It's just a shame it wasn't a remake of a better generation of Pokemon. And I would be remiss not to mention Final Fantasy XIV in this video. 2021 saw the release of the latest expansion, Endwalker, and by all accounts it was a hugely successful expansion to an already hugely successful game. The only reason it's an honourable mention rather than being on this list is because I don't currently play Final Fantasy XIV and the list is reserved for games I've actually played. I haven't played Final Fantasy XIV since A Realm Reborn. I've been resisting it with the excuse that there are no local servers here in Australia, but that's all about to change, so keep your eyes peeled for my inevitable tumble into Final Fantasy XIV addiction, coming real soon. The final thing I want to mention is that the top 3 in this list are my choices for the best games of 2021 in that exact order, but numbers 4 through 21 are not in any particular order, so just because a game is number 14 doesn't necessarily mean I think it's better than number 18. With that said, let's get on with the top 21 games of 2021. This game is bare bones in every department except for gameplay. It basically has no story, although there are some secrets to find. The visuals and music are sorely lacking, but my god is this a mechanically deep dungeon crawler. From the mind of Hiroyuki Ito of Final Fantasy fame, not to be confused with Hiroyuki Ito from The World Ends With You, Ito always starts with gameplay first, then builds all other aspects around it. I'm not sure why this project was pushed out before all those other aspects could be built, but it's still an addictive little game. Let's hope that Ito was moved on to something a little more exciting. It may have lost some of the magic of having to physically put a random CD into your PlayStation to summon a monster, but I'm glad Monster Rancher is back. It's not so much a monster collecting RPG as it is a Tamagotchi on a much larger scale. Train monsters, fuse monsters, fight monsters. That's what Monster Rancher is all about. Last I heard, this one wasn't selling too well, and that's a real shame. I'm not going to shill TWEWY like it's the greatest series to ever grace this earth or anything, but Neo TWEWY is a great game with an awesome soundtrack and unique atmosphere. It's got a dorky sense of humour and a good story that'll keep you interested all the way to the end. Voice of Cards is almost the exact opposite of Dungeon Encounters. Its story is rich, the music is brilliant, the visuals are unique, but its turn-based battle system is about as cookie-cutter as they come. It's a mellow experience that feels like you're playing through a Dungeons & Dragons or tabletop RPG campaign, and definitely something you should check out. Yoko Taro once did a talk titled Making Weird Games for Weird People, and Nier Replicant is a prime example. Though maybe the game is more weird than it is for weird people, because Nier is nearly in the mainstream. If what you want in your action JRPG with a sentient floating book that speaks in an extremely posh accent is it randomly fading to black and becoming a text-only adventure game for 15 minutes or an isometric top-down run and gun, then maybe you're just weird enough for Nier Replicant version 1.224.7448.7139. This is probably the most underrated game of the year. It's unlucky not to make my top 3. It would definitely be in a theoretical top 5, but if I kept listing them in order all the way to 5, where would it end?
If we deliver to you, then what? 85th Street, Wall Street, Mexico, 84th Street?
Poor Fuga. It didn't launch in the best of circumstances, but that was an unfortunate byproduct of the way in which this game was brought to market. This is CyberConnect 2's first self-published title. It's a passion project, and a damn good one at that. It has unfortunately fallen way short of the sales it needed to break even, so I sincerely hope we can drum up some more support, or at the very least hope that CC2 isn't discouraged from self-publishing more in the future. If you're a fan of turn-based strategy RPGs with lovable characters and a deep story, it's time to add Fuga Melodies of Steel to your wishlist. Scarlet Nexus was the biggest surprise of 2021 for me. When it was first announced, I thought it looked cool, I thought I'd probably end up playing it at some point, but it wasn't really a priority. And then I had the chance to play it at a preview session. I was obsessed. It was the only thing I was thinking about for weeks as I waited for release day. Scarlet Nexus has one of the slickest, most satisfying action combat systems I've ever experienced. Its anime blended with realistic environments aesthetic is unique and gorgeous, the characters are so much fun, and the narrative kept me hooked all the way through both of the main characters' stories. Just like everything on this list, it isn't without its flaws, but there are only 2 reasons this wasn't my absolute favourite game of 2021, and those 2 reasons are the next 2 games. A gameplay-focused entry in a gameplay-focused series, and quite possibly one of the most fun gameplay loops in existence. Collecting demons, fusing demons, exploring large open field maps that are almost like dungeons but even better to explore, the game has it all in the gameplay department, including one of the best turn-based combat systems in the business. The story and characters might leave you wanting more, but there is plenty to discover if you go looking for it. The world building is mostly done through the myriad of excellent side quests. Whether you're a veteran or a brand new player, Shin Megami Tensei 5 is a must-play for JRPG fans. Well, obviously. I didn't stop talking about this game all last year, and I'm not going to stop now. I waited a long time to see my favourite series take its first step into the current gen, finally leaving behind the legacy PS3 engine, and it did not disappoint. A wonderful cast of characters, an interesting story full of twists and turns, an absolutely gorgeous art style, a brilliant soundtrack, and it just goes on and on. Tales of Arise is the complete package and easily my pick for the best game of 2021. And there we go, that's my list. So, I don't know, jump down in the comments and complain about my picks and complain that something didn't make the list. As I said, the games that made the list were the ones that I actually played. I mostly play JRPGs, I mean, look at the name of this channel. Anyway, if you like this video, like it and subscribe to the channel or whatever. I mean, you can hit the dislike if you want, not that it really matters anymore, thanks YouTube. And other than that, I'll see you all soon.